trust that you're doing very well this Tuesday afternoon. My name is Carolyne Njenga and this is Inside Business. And we have lined up a comprehensive bulletin from you. We'll be looking at what is happening at various sectors, from the financial sector and also from to the agriculture sector. But that will be later on this broadcast. But first, we take a look at how the shilling is trading against other major currencies and also how the shares are trading at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Well, before we take a look at the top story of the day, later on, our reporter Jimmy Mbogo will be sitting down with Rose Mwambo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Central Depository and Settlement Corporation, and they'll be talking about the M. Akibe bond. Do look out for that interview. That will be happening later on this broadcast. But first, let's take a look at the latest from the oil exports, where the Principal Secretary for Petroleum, Andrew Kamau, has announced plans to begin construction of the oil pipeline from Turkana to Lamu, with easing transportation of crude oil. This follows the completion of the early pilot scheme that has seen Kenya strike a seal deal with China's state-owned corporation, saying that is Kemi China, and now Kenyans are now waiting to see what next with the success of the project. Our reporter Linda Koskei tells us more. Who is on?
Yes, Carol, the $2 billion early oil pilot scheme that was initiated by Tullow Oil has been a success, and of course this follows sentiments by the Tullow Oil Managing Director Martin Bogo, who says that this pilot project has been a success since it has already struck a deal with the state-owned China oil company, which is Chem China, which acquired this oil with $1.2 billion. And just to tell us about that, we have Martin Bogo, who is the Managing Director for Tullow, who will tell us more about this project.
So as you obviously know, our final investment decision is targeted for the second half of next year, which is 2020, which therefore is when you can expect that there will be award of any of these contracts. But in the meantime, there's a lot of work that is ongoing. There is just a bit of a clarification in terms of employment and benefits and supply of goods. There's a distinction between employment for nationals and locals as opposed to provision of goods. So I did say that 2 out of 3 people that you meet out in the field are actually nationals. So that puts us well above 66%. That is in Turkana. If you look at the nationals employed within Tullow, we are well over 95% of nationals. Our expat population is extremely small here. As far as the supply of goods are concerned, of course, subject to quality standards and the specialized nature of the industry, we are targeting at about 30%. It is a factor of the maturity of the industry. So at a very early stage, you are developing suppliers, developing content, and the numbers can be as low as 5%. So at 30%, we have actually delivered over and above what we initially sought. The numbers will be expected to grow as the industry matures.
So just the drilling part of the 300 wells, we've done a really good job in getting local content, and I know the tenders that Tullow have conducted for the drilling operation, they've really emphasized that, number one, the drilling companies must have local partners. They have to train them if they are not available. And what I like about Kenyans is that once we explain what it is that we want to do, they've taken the risk in investing in the equipment that will be required, for example, for cementing, for providing the mud that will be required, the pumps, the camp services, the transportation, all those things. So that money is going to come into the country. So you can imagine, I would say out of the the $2 billion that will go in, I would say 50% will remain here in Kenya for local services. So that includes earth-moving equipment to lay the pipe, the people who are going to construct the tanks in Lamu, all those things will have to come in here into this country. So there will be an inflow, and the construction period is something like 30 months. So in 30 months, you're going to get $1 billion coming into this country. That was not there before.
And there you have it, Carol. The piping project now begins, now kicks off, and that of course will be from Turkana to Lamu, whereby all will be transported, this time through pipeline, and of course earlier on it was being transported through lorries all the way, or trucks all the way to Lamu, which was quite hectic. And now with this project, you've heard that Kenya is going to invest $3 billion in order to ensure that this piping project completed. We'll be keen to know more about this project in our subsequent bulletins. Back to you, Carol.
Well, thank you, Linda Koskei, for that update. She'll be filing a comprehensive report during the 9 p.m. bulletin. Now, to other stories, the Treasury has stepped in to pay 13 billion shillings for the upgrade of the 26-kilometer Gishuru-Riloni Road, a key artery of the Nairobi-Nakuru Highway, after the World Bank pulled out of the project. The multilateral lender cancelled its share of the funding for the 16.3 billion shillings upgrade due to a delay in projects. Now, the Kenya National Highway Authority Director General Peter Mundinia says the World Bank is no longer part of the road's expansion. Construction work is progressing slowly due to the need for additional billions to compensate investors ceding land for the works. The cancellation came as the Treasury was seeking to negotiate afresh with the World Bank for 10 billion shillings funding to cater for the additional unplanned land compensation claims. Now we cross over now to Mombasa County, where Mombasa International Show is set to take place next month between September 4th and 8th. The Agricultural Society of Kenya's officials say preparations for the event are at 80% complete, with exhibitors putting up final touches on their stands. This year's show is expected to attract 260 exhibitors compared to last year's 160. Now we are joined by our reporter from Mombasa, Fred Kai, who is at the show with more details.
Caroline, na leo tuko katika maeneo haya ya maonyesho katika kaunti ya Mombasa, ambapo tumeweza kuona kwamba wakazi na watu mbalimbali wameweza kumiminika hapa katika kutayarisha maonyesho haya ya mwaka huu, ambayo tumeweza kuona kwamba yanaonekana yatakuwa ya kufana zaidi kushinda maonyesho yale yote ambayo yameweza kufanyika katika kaunti ya Mombasa. Na tumeweza kuona kwamba watu kama nyuma yangu penye wako tayari, wako mbioni katika kuendeleza kulima ama kupalilia mimea yao. Wengine pale kando wako tayari katika kutengeneza mabanda, ili mradi tu hakikisha kwamba kila kitu kishwari ifikiapo Septemba, basi mambo yatakuwa yako shwari kabisa. Na tumeweza kuona kwamba maonyesho ya mwaka huu kidogo yatakuwa utofauti, na utofauti huo basi ni kwamba mwaka huu wanaweza kuleta kwa pamoja maonyesho yale ama mashindano ya samaki. Na tumeweza kuona kwamba kwa miaka mingi samaki wameweza kuwa hawakuwa wanatiliwa maanani katika maonyesho yote yale ambayo yaliweza kuwa katika miaka ile ambayo imepita. Na kwa mwaka huu basi maonyesho haya yatapewa kipaumbele katika kuona kwamba wavuvi mbalimbali katika kaunti zote 6 za mkoani Pwani watakuwa wako katika maeneo haya ya Mombasa ili kuweza kuonyesha maonyesho hayo ya samaki. Na yote 9 basi 10 ni kwamba tuweze kujiunga naye Anisa Mohamed, ambaye ndio mwenyekiti wa maonyesho haya ya Mombasa, aweze kutupatia fika tu kuhusu maonyesho hayo maalum. Pengine kama unaweza kusongea karibu na mimi na utuambie tufika, ni kwa nini mwaka huu mmeweza kuonelea kwamba ili mradi tu muweze kuingiza maonyesho hayo ya samaki?
Tumeona ni muhimu sana kwa ajili ya mambo ya blue economy, na vile president wetu amesisitiza sana kuhusu mambo ya blue economy, ndio tukajumuika na wavuvi Kenya, ambao ni kikundi cha wavuvi wavuvi Kenya nzima, hasa hususan kutoka Vanga hadi Lamu. tumejumuika na wao ili waweze kuja kuonyesha ujuzi wao wa kuvua samaki na washindane katika hali ya kuvua samaki, na baada ya kushindana katika hali ya kuvua samaki, wale samaki wataletwa show, wawe displayed, watu wawaone, na at the same time wale samaki wataletwa wengine wakiwa live. So hiyo ndio tumesema mwaka huu ndio showstopper yetu ya mwaka huu. Kwa hivyo tunawaambia wananchi kwamba waje waone miradi hii wa wavuvi Kenya, na hiyo baada ya hapo pia watapika wale samaki, kuonesha ujuzi wa kupika wale samaki wa baharini. Wapike kwa kupaka, wapike kwa kukaanga, wapike kwa wasema wenyewe biriani, kwa pilau, kwa kila aina ya mapishi. Kwa hivyo watadisplay katika stand yao.
Na vile vile tumeweza kuambia tu fauko ya mwaka jana na mwaka huu, pengine utuambie tu idadi ya exhibitors watu kwa wangapi, na pia utupate ile utofauti.
Tumepewa challenge kutoka headquarters yetu, ambao challenge yenyewe ni lazima to meet the target ya last year ya 20%. Lakini sisi vile tumefanya hata hiyo 20% tumeipitisha, because the target we were given ni 180 na target yetu tumepanga ni 200 exhibitors. Na ukikompare kutoka mwaka huu na mwaka jana this time exhibitors ambao tuko nao mwaka jana kwa time hii ambao tuko nao leo walikuwa ni 120, na ukikompare mwaka huu up to now ni 160. So we are meeting the target ya 200 exhibitors.
Na ukiwaambia tu show ya mwaka huu itakuwa September tarehe ngapi, na pengine matarajio yenu ni gani ukilinganisha na ile miaka yote ambayo mmeweza kufanya maonyesho?
Maonyesho yetu itakuwa kuanzia tarehe 4 hadi tarehe 8. Tarehe 1 tunaenda kwa maombi ambao ni Harvest Festival. Tunakusanya zile produce ambazo tumeletewa donation kutoka kwa wafadhili, tunapeleka kwa maombi hiyo tarehe 1 ACK Anglican Church pale Nkuruma Road. Tukitoka pale ile chakula tunapeana kwa mayatima, nyumba za mayatima ambazo ni 3. Na tukitoka hapo tutakuwa na pre-show. Pre-show itakuwa ni Monday na Tuesday. Tuesday itakuwa ni judging day. Judges watakuja kwa wale exhibitors ambao watacompete, watakuja kujudge hiyo Tuesday. Alafu Wednesday governor wetu wa Mombasa, His Excellency Ali Hassan Joho, ndio atafungua milango yetu ya show Wednesday. Alafu tarehe 4. Tarehe 5 tunatarajia waziri His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, kutufungulia show yetu.
Na vile tumeweza kuona kwamba katika mwaka huu mko na mikakati ya kuona kwamba mnaweza kuincorporate watoto wa shule. Pengine mikakati hiyo imefikia wapi kwa sasa?
Mikakati hiyo tumeifanya aggressive marketing. Na aggressive marketing hiyo imebidi paka sisi wenyewe, mimi kama chairman, kwenda katika hizo mashule kuzungumza na principals. And the turnout imekuwa very positive. Tunatarajia mashule watakuja, wengine hata washaanza kulipia hizo gate charges zao, hizo participation. Kwa hivyo na ndio maana tumesema mwaka huu tufanye kama a pilot show, tuangalie kwa ajili miaka mingi tumefanya show, na nakumbuka wakati wetu tupokuwa watoto tulikuwa tunakuja na shule kwa show. Sasa tukaona kwamba watoto wetu they are missing out, kwa ajili tunaenda show zingine tunapata wanafunzi wanaenda wanajifunza, na wakati wetu show zetu tunazifanya mwezi wa 8 wanafunzi hawaji. So tumesema mwaka huu tunaifanya kama pilot, na tukiona kama succeed then tuta convert kwa mwezi wa 9.
Shukrani sana kwa muda wako. Naam, Carol, umeweza kusikia kutoka kwa chairperson wa show hii ya Mombasa, na anaweza kusema kwamba mwaka huu basi show hapo mambo yatakuwa ni mengine tofauti kabisa, kwa sababu anasema kwamba anaamini kwamba show ya mwaka huu basi itaweza kunoga kuliko show zile zingine zote ambazo zishawahi kufanyika katika kaunti hii ya Mombasa. Kutoka hapa na kuregesha kwako studio, Carol.
Well, thank you, Fred Kai, for that update. I'm so sure once we kick off, or Mombasa kicks off the Mombasa ASK show, we'll be bringing you live coverage of that. Now, moving on to other stories making headlines, a memorandum from the Kenya Bank Association seeking to repeal the interest capping law through the Finance Bill of 2019 is set to hit a rock bottom, with Kiambu Member of Parliament saying time is not ripe to do away with the rate cap yet. According to the MP, the move by the bankers is yet another attempt for the lenders to go back to the unregulated era where they would charge interest as high as they wish, which he sees as extorting Kenyans.
We have a right as leaders. We have an obligation as legislators to protect our people, because they are going to be oppressed, they are going to be nyanyaswad by these high interest rates. Yeah, I read in the papers they're saying, oh, once you remove the caps, those who have borrowed already, their interest rates will remain at that level. You know, they will say anything now because they want us to change the law. But you cannot be sure that they're going to maintain that. This is just a promise. It's just something they have written down somewhere. They don't have to follow it. They have promised so many things before. When we were discussing this amendment earlier on, they said they are going to set aside 1% of their loan portfolio. And this 1% is going to be lent to small and medium enterprises. This law was passed 2 years ago. We are still waiting for them to actualize their promise. So what will make us believe that what they are promising now, they will be able to fulfill?
Now, the government of Kenya, through the Department of Mining, is set to benefit from a manganese extracting company based in Taita Taveta County. Universal Resource International is set to begin its extraction activities, which will see them extract 30,000 tons of manganese every month, estimated to be worth 2.8 billion shillings. A percentage of the profit will be shared with the landowners, while another will be given to the community, and another 8% will be given to the national government, while 30% will go to the county government. Jimmy Mbogo reports.
According to the mining department geologist, Mr. David Irungu, the government will be having 2 industrial companies operating in Taita Taveta Kishuhe iron ore and manganese extraction at Mbambarenyi village in Mwatate. Through the community development agreement set by the new constitution, there will also be a committee which will guide the sharing of gross revenue. The committee will include the governor, MPs, MCAs and State Department of Mining officials.
Tumeshakubaliana tukaandikishana kwamba kila sales zinazoenda kwa mwezi mwenye shamba atakuwa akipata 1% ya sales zote za mwezi mzima. Ndio maana mmeona wameweka hii bridge hapa ili tani yote inayotoka hapa iwe inakuwa recorded.
The landowners and community living in Mbambarenyi village in Mwatate have also expressed their optimism from the mining activities, which is set to create hundreds of job opportunities as well as provide water supply to the locals. According to the landowners, after receiving their compensation, they had agreed with investor Universal Resource International that they will be receiving at least 50,000 shillings lease fee monthly for the area occupied by the machines in the period they will stay there.
Tukawaambia kwanza wakati ule waliweka mashini tunataka watulipe 50,000 kwa mwezi. Sasa kwanza huo mwezi waliweka mpaka kufikia sasa kabla kazi haijaanza. Wahakikisha wamelipa hiyo pesa, maana shamba sio naitumia na sisi atulime. Na tukasema hiyo 50,000 per month. Kwanza ile siku aliangusha vitu pale.
Residents are also hopeful that the mining activities will help the large population of youth who are engaging in drugs and alcoholism by keeping them busy working at the mining companies.
Na furaha sana kulingana na vijana wetu. Yaani vile walikuweko labda vijana wanaenda wakizunguka na kuvuta sigara nini na nini. Sasa watakuwa busy. Hata hakuna mahali wataenda, akitoka hapa akienda nyumbani kuoga na kupumzika.
Jimmy Mbogo, K24 Inside Business.
Well, thank you, Jimmy Mbogo, for that report. Now, over 50 Indian companies from all sectors of economy including manufacturing, agribusiness, as well as housing, are in the country to scout for investment opportunities in the largely untapped sectors. According to the Kenya Invest Managing Director Moses Ikiara, Kenya has a huge potential to accommodate investment opportunities, especially with Kenya being a signatory of the East African Community Common Market for East and Southern Africa, that is COMESA, and the recently signed African Continental Free Trade Area, which puts in a good position as an entry to the East African market. Let's just listen in.
There are so many exhibitors from India, and they want to try to joint venture and to create employment for our Kenyan brothers and sisters and our president's agenda, Big Four agenda. So one of the Big Four is a manufacturing. So we are requesting all the Indian exhibitors to collaborate with Kenyan partners and create more industries in all the 47 counties.
So it's nice to have people's eyes opened by seeing the products from other countries as they are showcased, because we also go around the world to showcase Kenya's products. A lot of times we are showcasing agricultural products and flowers and all, but it's also important to see what else can be produced, and a lot of these technologies have gone round. A lot of these technologies can be adopted by Kenyan manufacturers, by Kenyan SMEs in order to improve their own productivity.
We manufacture dairy machineries like milking machines, chop cutter, fodder machines, cow mat for standing and sitting the cows very comfortably. And according to economy, it is a very economic machines. It is very useful and helpful for small scale farmers, dairy farmers, for milking the cows, buffaloes and its goats also.
Now, across over now to the agriculture sector, and we narrow in on potato farming, where potato farmers from Meru County are set to reap big after the recent implementation of laws governing packaging of the commodity. According to the farmers, the law which demands that farmers package their produce in a 50-kilogram bag as opposed to the initial 90-kilogram will see producers get value for their produce. Massimiliano tells us more.
The farmers have urged the government to ensure that the laws are fully enforced to tame brokers who have exploited farmers over the years, and also ensure that there is a common bag to be used across the counties to avoid picking potatoes over the recommended kilos. However, many traders are opposed to the new laws governing potato packaging, saying they are incurring huge losses. They have warned that if the laws are not reviewed, many of them will be forced out of business. At the same time, the county director, Cooperative, said a major crackdown will be carried out to ensure both farmers and traders adhere to the law. Meanwhile, potato is the second staple crop after maize in the country. According to the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, Meru produces over 170,000 tons of potatoes, and there are about 30,000 farmers planting potatoes in the county. The country's potato industry has an annual turnover of 46 billion shillings and supports livelihoods of over 3 million farmers. Massimiliano, K24 Inside Business.
Now, the National Treasury has reopened the mobile-based bond Emakiba for a fifth time, seeking to raise 500 million shillings from investors and ordinary Kenyans. The infrastructure bond has a minimum subscription of 3,000 shillings, meant to make it accessible to the masses, unlike normal Treasury bonds that have a minimum subscription amounting to 50,000 shillings. The reopening, however, has been faced with a lot of challenges, key among them being investor confidence. Jimmy Mbogo had a sit-down with the Central Depository and Settlement Corporation Chief Executive Officer Rose Mambo to understand why there has been an increased frequency of the bond issuance in the market despite the numerous times it has failed to achieve the intended targets.
Indeed, thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to you too, Caro. Yes, we are having a discussion around the issuance, the fifth issuance of Emakiba bonds, which are the cheapest government bonds that anyone can invest in. With only 3,000 shillings, you're eligible to invest in these government-issued bonds, which will see you get a return that is about 10% coupons per year, and which is paid out after every 6 months. Now, one of the things that has come out over the past issues is the fact that a lot of these Emakiba bond have not been able to achieve the targeted amount. For instance, this issue is targeting to raise about 500 million shillings, and we'll wait to see whether this will be achieved. And just to speak to us about this, I'm joined by CDSC Chief Executive Officer, that is Ms. Rose Mambo. And thank you so much. And one of the things that a lot of Kenyans want to know is what has been the performance of the first 4 issues.
So far, the government has raised about 780 million using the Emakiba platform. The idea was first and foremost to democratize the bond issuance program and allow your ordinary Kenyan citizen to participate in government securities. And so from a perspective of investor education and people starting to gain an understanding of what a bond is, I would say that it has done quite well, given that we have over 513,000 people registered for Emakiba. In terms of the people who actually buy, normally through each issue we get between 5,000 to 7,000 people buying the bond. And so I would say that the level of knowledge about government securities is growing slowly over time.
Now, over the past few years, we have seen an increased frequency at the rate at which these Emakiba bonds are issued. Why is this the case?
Different issues. Some could be the fact that when you look at your target audience, it's really your ordinary Kenyan on the street who might not have that much disposable income for investment. What the government has been trying to do is to encourage a savings culture amongst the Kenyan citizens. And so that, to that extent, I would say it's been fairly successful because you now have more Kenyans saving through the Emakiba bond. The other idea behind it was to promote financial inclusion and promote investor education around government securities. Again, I would say that that awareness has definitely been increased, and so for that reason, the bond has been fairly successful. So in terms of raising the amounts, I think over time, the amount of money people invest in Emakiba will keep growing over time as people get more comfortable with the product, get to understand more about its features and the benefits, and why it's preferable perhaps to any other form of investment.
Now, as an investment opportunity for Kenyans, 3 years is a long time to actually wait for an investment that, let's say, you probably invested only 3,000 shillings. So why should I invest in Emakiba as opposed to, let's say, investing in equities?
It's the way that the bond works. It pays you interest of 10% per annum. However, interest is paid every 6 months. So you'll actually get your interest every 6 months. And 3,000 is a minimum amount. And one of the reasons why we keep offering it again and again is that, yes, you started with 3,000, but over time, you can keep topping up your savings and keep increasing the amount you're saving through Emakiba. Compare it with your bank account. If you keep money in the bank, what interest are you likely to get? And you're really trying to save money over a longer period of time, so you don't want to be removing that money from the bank. So comparably, I think it's a good product. It gives you a good return of 10%. It's not taxed, so you won't get withholding tax on your earnings. And really, I don't think there's any other institution that can give you a return of 10% currently.
And now, currently, as it is, Emakiba guarantees you a 10% interest that is not taxed. Are we likely to see this being increased?
We also have to benchmark it against the current rates that are available in the market. If you look at the current T-bill rate, I think it's about 7.25%. If you look at what banks are offering, I doubt you'll get anything above 7% for small amounts like the amounts we are talking about with Emakiba investors. So 10% is really a very good and premium return. So I don't think it will go up unless the market conditions change.
Now, recently there have been reports indicating that T-bill uptake in the market have been low. Is this good news for Emakiba investments and Emakiba opportunities?
It's good news to the extent that it makes Emakiba a lot more attractive. But also remember, you're dealing with different audiences. For T-bills, you mostly have institutional investors investing, whereas for Emakiba, you're looking at your ordinary Kenyan citizen. And so it's positive in that it's giving your ordinary Kenyan an actually better return than they would get on any other product.
Let's speak about the amount that has been paid in interest. How much has it been so far?
So far, the government has paid 67 million in interest payments. As I said, interest is paid every 6 months to anybody who is on the register as a holder of Emakiba bond. So you'll be paid your interest every 6 months, and we've paid to date 67 million shillings. Also remember that bond is tradable on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. So some people who buy in primary market may sell along the way and may not necessarily be the same people who are being paid interest on the date of the interest payment.
So in terms of M-Akiba subscribers, how many are they so far?
We've got about 513,000 Kenyans registered as CDS account holders for the M-Akiba bond. Like I said, with each issue, we have about 5,000 people buying. So I would say we have maybe 20 to 30,000 holders of M-Akiba bond. The product is defined as an infrastructure bond, which means the funds should only be deployed towards infrastructure projects. I don't have, of course, the information of what happens once the money is released back to the government, but the assurance we have from the government is that once the bond is defined as an infrastructure bond, then that money can only go towards financing infrastructure projects.
Well, indeed, thank you so much, Ms. Mambu, for speaking to us. Carol, as you have heard it right there, they will be looking to raise 500 million shillings. That is to go to infrastructure projects by the government. We wait to see whether this time this will be achieved, and if not, what is the plan going forward. But for now, back to you.
Well, thank you, Jimmy Mbogo, for that interview on M-Akiba bond and the subscription rate. And that is how we wrap up Inside Business for today. And you can follow us on our social media platform at K24 TV on Instagram, Twitter, and also Facebook. And also you can watch us live via www.k24tv.co.ke. My name is Carolyne Njenga. Have a good afternoon.